Hi, Sarah.
Morning.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us. So we have Susan Witz here. She's a registered dietitian and nutritionist at Advocate Good Shepherd Hospital, and she will be demonstrating how to make vegan-friendly mac and cheese. So I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Emily. Good morning, ladies. I'm so glad you're with me. I wish you'd be here to taste this dish because it's really delicious. I wasn't quite sure when I saw the recipe, but it's proved to be wonderful. In terms of my background, I've been a registered dietitian for many years and also a certified yoga teacher and mindfulness meditation. So I do a lot of those things for Advocate and Advocate clients. And I'm so happy to be here with you. And I'm expecting my granddaughter in from Michigan this weekend, whom I haven't seen in a while. So I think I'm going to share this recipe with her. I think she's really going to enjoy it. And I think you will too. So today I'm going to be making the vegan mac and cheese. And I'll be talking a little bit about food safety issues, just so we can keep our food really clean of bacteria and serious illnesses. Evidently, thousands of people become ill with some kind of bacterial or food issue, and a few thousand may actually die from these illnesses that are totally preventable. So I'm going to weave some information in there about how to keep everything clean and safe in the kitchen and beyond. All right. So what I've done, and this is not a quick recipe. I'd like to tell you can make this in a minute, but you can't. So I doubled it up because we should cook once and eat 2 or 3 times. And I'm at that point where if I'm going to spend a whole lot of time on something, I really want to know that I can get several meals out of it. And it's a little bit messy. This blender and the sauce is thick. So there are several steps. Cutting up the sweet potato and the white potato in small cubes. So here we go. And they're going to get boiled, and it's not boiled, but simmered to soft. And then this lovely color from the sweet potato is what's going to give that sort of cheddar mac and cheese color. And it's quite pretty, actually. And then I've gotten a couple of heads of cauliflower, and I've broken them up into small pieces, and they serve as the base instead of macaroni. And cauliflower can be used riced as a substitute for pasta, potatoes, and rice. And you can rice your own and not have to pay the big price for that. And I'm going to get my potatoes cooking right now because we need to do all that, blend everything, and then pop it in the oven for a little bit of browning of the breadcrumbs on top. So it's a small group. If you have a question or Emily wants to handle something for me, I will be happy to talk about it as we go. So I'm going to put all of these into some water, which is not quite boiling yet. I think what I'm going to do is put the lid on it and move that along.
Was that also the Yukon potatoes that you
Pardon
had?
me?
Was that also with the sweet potatoes? Was that also those little Yukon potatoes?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yukon potatoes.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, and I mean, I can show you all my ingredients. I've got my garlic cubes, cloves ready to go into the blender. And remember, I've doubled the recipe, and then they call for an extra one at the end. This is my apple cider vinegar. And then I have mixed some smoky paprika, which is really good, with a little bit of, I use kosher salt because I didn't have a sea salt handy, and they're quite similar. So this is iodized salt. And in the Midwest, we may tend to have a low iodine diet. causing thyroid problems. So when you do use salt, you may generally need the iodized unless you take a supplement with it, because the kosher and the sea salt have a very low level of iodine. Just a small point about that. And then my nutritional yeast, this is really an amazing thing to have around. It's very high in B vitamins and in fiber. It doesn't have many calories. And you could even sprinkle it on popcorn, microwave popcorn, and it will really enhance the protein and the vitamin level and give it that a little bit of a taste. So this is going to be going into the sauce. Now the apple cider vinegar in vegan items helps to bring out a flavor that maybe eggs would provide. So it helps break down food and get the spices into the food. So it's a flavor enhancer. What else have I got going here? Olive oil. I have the plastic, but this is extra virgin olive oil. And this has been known to help people live longer and help delay neurodegenerative diseases, heart disease, Alzheimer's. It's quite a potent oil in terms of being helpful. And there was a recent study that people over 65, those who used a fair amount of extra virgin olive oil, lived 9.5 years longer than others. But there's a lot of studies about the value. So if you're not using this, you might want to start and sub it out for other fats or oils that you might be using. What else have I got here? I've got cashews, which give some of the richness. They replace the cheese in the sauce. And in case you don't know about Mrs. Dash, not the regular one. This is Fiesta Lime, no salt, extra spicy, hoping you can see, and Southwest Chipotle. So I use these in a lot of things. I didn't put them in here, but I want you to know about them because they bring a lot of flavor to food. I'm control my family tendency toward high blood pressure by really taking care of diet and exercise. And I do watch the sodium. So these spices bring in some flavor. And what we're using today for spice is smoked paprika. And it brings a delicious, almost a bacony taste, but not exactly. A lot of flavor. And then cayenne pepper for a little zap. And you can even add red pepper flakes to the sauce. Let's see how I'm doing. Here's my olive oil. Now with the breadcrumbs, these are just plain panko, and they add light crispness to the top of anything, especially on the mac and cheese. You can get a vegan brand called Edwards, which I didn't find, and you can get gluten-free breadcrumbs, breadless breadcrumbs, and you can also get 100% whole wheat. So it depends how choosy you want to be. How are my potatoes doing here? Gotta get this to a high boil. So we want these to go for 12 minutes. Well, I'm gonna put my cauliflower in. And it's a good sized pot of boiling water. It doesn't stay for too long. Make sure they land in the pot, not on the floor. In there. This is the pan that I'm going to use actually to put everything in. Hurry to get that rinsed out. Planning is everything. Shopping is everything in terms of having your list picking your recipes. You don't want to go to the store constantly, or you can get them all delivered all at once. But efficiency, how are we doing? So in terms of food safety, there are four key rules. And the first one is clean. The second one is separate. The third is chill. And the fourth is cook. So all of these categories can determine how safe your food stays. So the first one is clean everything. Clean the surfaces. You can clean in several stages while you're making things. That means clean your fridge regularly, your microwave, because particles that stick around can shed bacteria and get into other foods. So wiping counters, sanitizing, washing hands, counters, everything that you touch. And then I want to make sure I'm covering everything. And you're washing with soapy water, clean water, soap, or a type of disinfectant, but keeping that out of the food. And then you've got separate. So when you're doing, you want to keep your items of meat and eggs and fish and poultry separate from your veggies, breads, and so forth. So it's a good idea to have separate cutting boards. And if you don't, you want to wash it, sanitize frequently between, keep things covered and wrapped. That's also important. And you want to clean out your fridge regularly as well. Then we have chill. So this means everything should be stored at its right temperature. And your freezer at 0 or below, and your fridge at 40 degrees or less. Preferably mine always reads 36. And if you don't trust the indicator on your fridge, you can get a fridge and freezer thermometer. And that will tell you if your food is being stored at the right temperature. So that means bringing food in from the grocery store promptly, not leaving it on counters. And if you do reusable bags, washing those out as well. It's not COVID strict as it used to be, but we want to be careful because there's cross-contamination, cutting this. And sometimes you can't know if the food is bad or if it has a bacteria or something more serious. With lunch meats, it's recommended that you really eat those promptly, don't keep them for many days. And you want to go by the use date too. The only things that, and those, the use date means on other things beside things that spoil easily. That means that that's where the quality of the food is best. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. You might lose some quality of taste, but it's not dangerous. You want to check if there's any mold on anything, any deterioration, anything that smells funny, looks funny. Like I had a lovely chunk of cheese. There was some mold that had started on one end. So I didn't throw the whole cheese out. I just cut off that little moldy part, and that worked well. Don't want to miss anything here. Now, when you thaw foods, you definitely don't want to thaw them out on a counter. You can thaw them overnight in the fridge. Gotta check them. Okay, let me set up. I'll be right back here. Set that. Oh, my cauliflower hasn't started yet. So, I have to think where I was. Shouldn't have interrupted like that.
You were talking about thawing things and putting them in the fridge.
Right, thank you for bringing me back to that. So you thaw things in the microwave, you thaw them overnight in the fridge, you thaw them under cold running water, but never just sitting out on the counter while you go shopping. And then if you're marinating anything, marinate it in the fridge. And then if you want to use some of the marinade for part of a sauce, you really should boil it for a while. Just don't want to use the marinade and just put it right into whatever you're going to use. Or you can throw it out. And then you want to cook your meat items to proper temperatures. And I can send the link after this so that you could go to eatright.org. And that's a wonderful source of consumer information. It's the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics official site. And since I'm an RD, a registered dietitian, I use that site a lot and I recommend it. And this is the source of my materials today, eatright.org. Then let's just see. Yeah, read all your labels. I think the idea is, especially older, we should eat foods in a timely way. Doggy bag foods, all of those things have to be brought home immediately and used very soon. Whoops, got some action over here. Now here. So what I need to do is cook my potatoes till they're quite soft and drain them. And then I'm going to do that for the cauliflower too and drain that. And then I'm going to keep the cauliflower in this bowl until I make the sauce. And then the sauce gets poured over all the cauliflower, well mixed, and then it gets popped in the oven. So I found out in making this that by the time you're done with everything, the mix gets kind of cool. But if you pop it right under the broiler to just kind of brown the little crumbs, the crumbs will burn and the inside won't be quite warm enough. So this is a heads up. I would put it on bake and make sure that the whole interior is warm and then pop it under the broiler. Because these crumbs kind of go quickly and they go from a lovely brown to black. You don't want that. So the potatoes should be soft to the fork. Check one of these. Not quite. So almost all of these things are going to go in the blender to make the sauce. The potatoes are going to go in there. It's only the cauliflower that sits in the bowl and waits for the sauce. Now this sauce is so good that I was already thinking about other things you could use it on. And I also thought of confetti mac and cheese, mac and cheeseless cheese, and that would be cauliflower comes in a variety of colors. And the cauliflower is a high fiber food, high in antioxidants and very protective chemicals, sulforaphane, things that are anti-cancer, that are good for digestion and gut bacteria. Cauliflower has minimal calories. It has a lot of bulk. It's great for weight loss. Broccoli may have a couple more nutrients, but they're equally wonderful. And I plan on using this sauce over a whole vegetable mix and not just cauliflower, not really trying to make it mac and cheese, just having a delicious vegan sauce. And I love the fact that olive oil substitutes for the saturated fat in cheese. I need my cauliflower. The cauli doesn't have to go for very long, but my potatoes need to be soft. Try one of these. Almost there. So the cashews are going to go in here. The nutritional yeast. Sorry, that's the breadcrumbs. This is the nutritional yeast, and I've lost my image. I just want to see that you can see. There we go. So that's what the yeast looks like. It has kind of a yellow color, and that's a little bit of salt that has to go in with that. And I'm going to, of course, add my spices. Let's check this. All right. The potatoes are good. So I'm putting them in a drainer in the sink. sit still. So I am going to let them sit there and drain. Check on my cauliflower. You want to be sure to make the cauliflower pieces smaller. You don't want big chunks. Like maybe an inch, half inch, actually. These have to go just a little bit more, but I can start on the sauce. Let's see. I want to get, so here are my dripping potatoes in nice little cubes. This is kind of hot. Let me see what I want to do. Well, I lost a few. Got that. I think we can really add everything in any order. Drain, transfer. I'm going to go in with the cashews. Remember, I've doubled the recipe. And my, it matters which order, my apple cider vinegar. Remember, the extra virgin olive oil, you'll often see the word EVU. And I know when I first saw it, I'm like, what's that? But it's just extra virgin olive oil. That goes in. Now, this is a little high in oil and fat for me. It's good fat, but it's a bit high. So I didn't want to experiment with this recipe, but I would probably cut some of the salt and some of the oil and some of the cashews. And I would have to experiment to see, is it still good? But you can always take a recipe and modify it. Don't use a spice you don't like, add a spice you do like. And I have found that by changing spices, you change a whole dish. You may have basic ingredients, but the flavors are all different. So that's one way to add variety without having to buy a lot of different foods. So I have all that, and then I want to see my oil's gone in, and I also need half a cup of water. So I have filtered water right here, and under the sink filter, which gives me all the clean water I want for everything. I live in a condo, so this is not a home filtration system. It's really just for the kitchen. So now the water has to go in. And in terms of spicing and salt, you can always add, but really it's hard to take out. So you can taste at the end and decide, okay, I'm done with that. These should be pretty soft. I'm gonna let this go another minute. What am I missing? I'm missing garlic. So I've got, cut them in half. Maybe it said 2 cloves. I like garlic, so I'm adding maybe a little extra. That's all up to you. And oh, I think my onion powder is in with the yeast. That's right. So there goes all of that. We're good with these. And then my cloves, onion powder. Now I'm trying to think when blending in the clove. Here we go. Okay, they want this extra. I think I'm just going to add this now. Going to turn this off for now. And I have only to think where I put my lid. Here. Are we having fun yet? It's not a quick recipe. All right. Where's my arrow? I think I'm going to drain the cauliflower before I start with that. I've got a small kitchen. Small and friendly, efficient, but I gotta scramble sometimes to figure out where to put everything, but it works. So this is going into the drainer that I have in the sink, colander. I'm going to drain it first before I put it in that large bowl. Set all of this aside. I want to make sure I've got everything in here. All right, this will be noisy. So I want to see how things are doing in here. I want to get some of this going down. Now it's a bit thick, but you can see how that lovely yellow color has developed. And I am going to add a little more water. Let's see how we're doing because we have a meal to finish here. Okay. I have a tasting spoon here. Really good. I would add maybe even some red pepper flakes, which I'm gonna do. Maybe just a little zing, one more buzz, and then we're going to be ready. Okay, this will be good enough for the sake of time because I want to complete this. So I've lost me on there. Let's just see. See you guys. Where- I'm not sure if there. This is me. Oh, well, in any case, here is my cauliflower. So I'm going to pour it into here. I think I could have cut it up even a little smaller. Maybe I'm just going to do that. It's very soft. Cutting it up just a little bit. Put the oven on. You don't need that much heat for this. I see I've got stuff there. Just move that. So here's that beautiful yellow color. Looks like cheese sauce to me. I think I might do this a little longer and add a little more water, but I want to get it going. You can see how this would make a great dip, maybe even for raw veggies, for the vegan people, and for the non-vegan people. So getting all of this out definitely takes a few minutes here. Just gonna set that there, and maybe I can rescue some of that. Kleenex. So this is a lot heart healthier than cheese. It's very nutritious. It probably does not have a high calcium level dairy product would have, but that can be made up elsewhere. Broccoli has some calcium too. It's just high in vitamin C. It's a highly protected food group, the cruciferous vegetables. The oil is good, nutritional yeast, spices. Now here's an interesting tip. Again, I'm just going to leave this. Normally I flick the bowl or find a way to use that. But I want to get this going. So what did I do with my spatula? All right, just going to mix this around. So I'm coating my cauliflower with this lovely sauce. The tip I have for you is that if you like pasta, potatoes, and rice, but you need to watch the calories and the sugars, they've done a lot of studies that if you cook your pasta potato, like even thinking potato salad, and your rice, and you chill it for 24 hours, and then you reheat it, some of that sugary starch that's easily digestible turns to an indigestible starch. And that means that it's going to be lower in calories and a lower spike to blood sugar. So I thought that was a very interesting tip that we could all use. If you don't mind not having it fresh. All right. I don't have room right in front of you, but I am filling up the, this is heavier than I am, I think. Getting this into the baking dish. So this is, I think, a 10-inch. And this is a double recipe. I think I made a little too much cauliflower for the amount of sauce. But that's actually a good thing. This is a meal, definitely you want to get more than one bite out of this one. One of the reasons I love this blender is that when making soup, especially a lentil or bean soup, it's wonderful to puree half the soup. And then you get a really rich, filling kind of soup. Feels more satisfying than all as liquid. And you saw how easily a lot of kind of really hard ingredients blended together really easily. Okay. I want to wipe off the edge of the baking dish, and then I'm going to put the breadcrumbs on. Got a little meter. And I'm going to smooth out the top a little bit. I would pair this with a salad with that maybe has some raspberries in it or some pear, because this is kind of a heavy type of dish, even though the sauce is heavier, the broccoli is bulky. So I think having a very green salad, maybe some red onion slivers, raspberry vinaigrette, that would be a nice pairing. We want to get a variety of taste, texture in a meal. So sometimes just a mono meal, we're looking for something else. So since this is more creamy, you might want a more crunchy salad with this meal. Wait a minute, let's get rid of that. And the breadcrumbs. So let's get a spoon. I'm going to put the breadcrumbs, sprinkle them over. I'm going to heat it for a minute. And I'll probably have a few more safety tips for you. This wouldn't take long to finish. And probably putting this in a shaker might be nice for a little more even distribution. I didn't realize how many kinds of panko there are in terms of different flavors. But you could always add your own spices here. Probably be good to add the red pepper flakes here. And then if people want more spicy or less, you could leave some spices out and then they could decide what they want for toppings. And then there's always your cleanup. All right, so what I'm going to do is I want to cover this, put that in there, and then I'll finish under the broiler. I want to heat it up a little bit. Ooh, warm. Of course, I don't actually have to heat it all because it's not like you're going to sit down with me. Too bad. It'd be really good. But talk a little bit more on some of the safety items. Sometimes you don't know when to throw things out. So with frozen food, as long as the freezer temperature is 0 below, even if things look slightly discolored or ice crystals form, they're still safe to eat. It's a little bit of the food quality may be gone, but no need to throw them out. If your refrigerator goes out, if you lose electricity, that's why it's good to have a food thermometer in the freezer, because it tells you what temperature the freezer stayed at, and you can see what you can keep and let go of. You might have to do that individually, but as long as you keep your fridge and freezer doors closed, can probably hold the temp for about 4 hours. So again, it depends on which foods you have to toss. You would have to check each package separately. Want to see what I might be missing. I think I've covered every little point here. Well, one more, that sometimes the bacteria and the mold are obvious, but sometimes they're not. And with certain foodborne diseases, you can't tell always by taste and smell. And that's when you get the recalls on massive amounts of product, because there's no way, they don't look damaged. But somehow some of this E. coli or more serious things got into the whole batch, but it's not visible. So that's why we want to be really, really careful. I don't know if I've been this careful. I've made it this far, but it's good to keep those things in mind. Even if we've been cooking for a long time, we could probably all do better in certain areas. And especially as we get older, when the immune system may tamp down a little bit, we got to be a little more careful. All right, I am going to get hot. This will come off. We'll go up to the broiler. Get this to broil. You gotta watch these breadcrumbs. They want to just get too brown, or maybe move the tray a little lower than you would if you were broiling meat or fish. This will take a little minute here. So I wonder, I've kind of lost sight of everybody, but I know you're there. I hope you're there. And do you have any questions? Just any little nutritional thing or relative to the recipe that I'm making, or to any of the food safety issues?
Well, first, I just want to just say I am so impressed with how you took a spoon and sprinkled those breadcrumbs, because when you watch these cooking shows, they're constantly with their hands. Oh, a pinch of salt, they take their hands and do all of this. So I was very impressed. So I'm already okay. With the oven, what temperature is the oven at?
I just put it at 350, or just something to warm the food, because a lot of it is kind of warm, and you can test it. I don't have an exact, because they didn't really say put it in the oven. The recipe is like, just put the crumbs under the broiler. If you've got a copy of the recipe, it says, do all this, put it all together, and then broil it for 2 minutes. And I broiled it for 2 minutes. It was a bit of a disaster, right? I had cold mac and cheese and burned crumbs. So I was trying to save you a disappointment.
No, thank you.
It still hasn't quite come up, so the breadcrumbs are kind of white. But I think there is a website, a gal who does a lot of cooking demos, and it is called Downshiftology. Lisa Bryan, I believe it's Bryan. And she has got some great, organized, marvelous demos. And she also does how to do a week's worth of food and how to do this. And the videos are so professional. And so I discovered that recently, and I thought that inspires me to, just get with it a little bit more. And I think you'll enjoy her presentations. And she may be using a few exotic ingredients, but it's just her methods that could be helpful. And you could pick and choose the recipes. But I like the idea of she makes things for the week, and then you use chicken this way, and then that way, and then you add this. But you do have to be willing to put in that upfront time of, picking your recipes, getting all the food in the house, and doing some Sunday prep. And And that's probably particularly good for people who are working many hours and they don't eat well because they don't have the time, or they feel they don't have the time to organize. And that's the biggest problem, is the grabbing at the last minute, opening the cabinet. Well, I wonder what's for dinner. Well, it depends. What did you do to have anything for dinner? But anyway, any questions? Comment? Okay, beginning to brown. And I'll put some in a dish so you can kind of see what the whole thing looks like. Not quite ready. Let's see if I've covered all the health points. Everything in here is the garlic, the olive oil, the cauliflower for sure, the nutritional yeast. Cashews have a healthy fat, and we find that people who have, that's part of the Mediterranean diet, a plant-based diet. Now, a plant-based diet is not a vegan diet. It's not pure vegetarian. It means that predominant feature would be whole foods, vegetable-based, potatoes. They're starchy, but they're vegetables. All of the gorgeous fruits and vegetables that are available. The healthier oils, like olive oil, the nuts and seeds to a moderate amount, and whole grains, definitely the whole grain. And I love to use quinoa. It's very high in protein. I mix it a little with brown rice, so that gives a little sweeter aspect to it. And then, the healthier fish, the fatty fish like salmon or sardines, even herring, maybe not your favorite, but has a lot of the good fats at an affordable price. And then very lean meats, and not that often and not that much. So the plants predominate, but they're not all there is. And we're finding out that this type of diet called Mediterranean, mind diet, semi-vegetarian, is definitely the way to go to ward off all kinds of chronic things. And we feel today that 50 to 65% of chronic diseases, premature death, is attributable to a poor diet. So if there's a magic, it's right here in the kitchen, or it's walking outside or at your favorite gym or health club, keeping active. Let's see if I burn my crumb. Not quite, no. That would be defeating my whole thought. So here's what I have so far.
that looks
Since I've
good.
kind of lost camera. Are you seeing this?
Yes,
Yes?
yes,
No, yes?
yes.
Yes. Okay. So I could go for doing a little more to get it a little more even, but I'm not. I'm going to turn this off and maybe scoop some in a dish. Here, this side looks good right here. So this would technically be 8 servings. And you can see on your recipe, they say 319. I did my own calculations. I think it's maybe closer to 325, 330. And that would be 1/4 of your original recipe. So this should be 8. 3 I would do in 8s, but let's take us out here. I would probably cook a little longer. So can you, are you
Yes.
seeing?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
it.
Looks good.
It's
Very
delicious.
good.
Yeah, it is. I was like, what's this? Well, I'm gonna take my tasting spoon, since this is mine. See how it goes. I love it, and I would add a little more spice to this. And I think, as I said, I overdid the cauliflower, but it's so hearty, it's filling, and you don't have all that white pasta under there. You have a healthy, high fiber, low calorie cauliflower, so you can indulge. Anyway, I think I've covered all my main points. getting the right equipment, setting up your kitchen, and play music while you cook, whatever it is, because I don't eat out very much because I want to know what's in my food. I want to know some things sound healthy, look healthy, but the way they're made, too much sodium, too much of the wrong kind of fat, maybe a giant sized portion, even though you can doggy bag it. So the healthiest thing to do is to make your own. And these days with high prices, that's probably the budget way to go. Let's get a quick sip of water. See how I'm doing on time. Yes, so I started getting healthy with my first yoga class. Sorry about that. I started in my late 20s being healthy. I'm now in my early 80s and enjoying every year medicine free and loving the lifestyle and enjoying all the food. So if I can give you any encouragement that living healthy doesn't mean being deprived in terms of taste and flavor. It's a fun way to live, no deprivation here. And having good health at an older age is really important, right? Because medicine can keep us alive a long time. So I came across a new term, new to me. It's called health span. We always think of lifespan as how long we live, but health span is the quality of those years. So the idea is to compress the difficult years to the very end of life. Things are going to happen in spite of our best efforts, but I've got grandkids to enjoy, things to do, and I love feeling healthy, and I'm willing to give up a few pieces of cake for it. So that's throwing in my personal philosophy, which you didn't exactly ask for, but I thought I'd share that anyway. Any questions, comments?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Mary. I have a question about water. Everyone is telling, keep hydrated, water, and why can't coffee count and pop and tea, but could I just put like a little Crystal Light? Does that count? Like, does it have to be pure plain water or?
It's really hydration is these are all water-based foods. A cup of tea is a flavored cup of water. I think the reason if you drink a lot of caffeinated tea and coffee, it may tend to have more of a diuretic effect, but not at the level that most people have, 1 or 2 cups, 3 or 4. If you do a decaf, probably less of an effect. Coffee is actually found to be rather helpful when it isn't laden with cream and sugar. So I think nothing wrong. And then here's another thing to think of. A lot of fruits and vegetables are of very high water content.
Yeah.
So that counts. And it's just that as we get older, we're less thirsty. The body is thirsty, but we don't feel that thirst. And by the time we're really thirsty, the body's been deprived, and you can get even brain fog from being dehydrated. I did a lot of research on this. Even the discs between the vertebrae and our spine hold water. So if you have back issues, being dehydrated could kind of dry out those discs and make you uncomfortable. I'm not saying this is the key factor here, but it's just a little tidbit to think about, in terms of, I don't feel like drinking water, but my body and my brain, they need water. So however you can get your fluids, let's call it fluids.
Okay.
And then some people are on medication that causes more water loss. And you need fluids to hydrate the fiber that you want to eat. We should be having 30 grams of fiber a day. And I call it creating smoothage instead of roughage. So you want to plump up all that fiber with fluid. And that also helps to pull out the cholesterol, the excess blood sugars. So that whole fiber fluid thing is really important. And one other thing comes to mind, older is we require typically, not always, fewer calories, so that those calories should really count. We have less room for junk nutrition because we really need those nutrients.
Thank you.
Good question. Anyone else with any question?
Oh, I think it was great.
All right. Well, I've had fun being with you. I just wish you were all here to eat and then clean up the kitchen, but I'm going to have to deal with that. Anyway, I want to see you. I can't quite see you. I don't know what I did to my computer that I've lost the, maybe if I have to get down here on Zoom. There. Okay. Very good. You made it fun and fun for me. I love to do these actually. I didn't know that I did. And let me show you a very fun thing. I don't know, can you see this at all?
Yes.
I had a vegan restaurant in the 70s, and that was my menu. Check out the prices. Can you see them? It's like a relic.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I had a yoga studio and a restaurant. I had no business experience. I had a passion for health and teaching about all this. And I kept the studio, the yoga, for 13 years, and this a year and a half, 2 years, because it was too much.
Yeah.
It was fun, but we had a totally vegan kitchen. And I advertised for my help. I said, low pay, high vibrations. I got some spiritual groupies that were happy to be there,
Right.
making all this healthy stuff. But anyway, I don't want to ramble on. Thank you so much for inviting me to present. Happy to be with you and whoever's tuning in online. Hi, and thank you for attending. Yeah, Emily, thanks for inviting me.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
for a great demo.
Thank you.
Oh, hand for you too. You made it easy. Till next time. I'm
All
always
right.
available to do anything. If you want a little mindfulness chocolate meditation, I love to teach those.
Okay.
Anyway, till next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Susan.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care all.